Kumar Rocker's slider isn't a sweeper, but it was still plenty good enough to get the sweep over the Angels.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way to help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about the best start of Kamar Rocker's professional career, why it was so darn effective, and why, it might just be getting even better for this already incredibly stacked Rangers rotation. But let's get into Kamar Rocker, the story of the night. 7 innings. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 innings of 3-run ball for Rocker, which very easily, with not a little bit more help from his defense, with just a little bit more help from his defense, could have been 7 innings of 1-run ball. That would have been a significantly less stressful game, but 0 walks. Count them. Or don't count them, because there's nothing to count. 0 walks and 8 strikeouts, a career high for Kamar Rocker, a career high in innings as a professional, not just in the major leagues, but as a professional. That includes his stint in the Frontier League, his stint in the Arizona Fall League, his stint before Tommy John surgery, the Tommy John recovery aspects. He hasn't thrown 7 innings since college, and also a career high in strikeouts, and also his first big league win, because he hadn't thrown 5 innings in a big league game just yet. And, had the Rangers felt a little bit more secure in that lead, had, Josh Young made the correct throw to the correct base in that inning where the Angels scored a pair of runs, which was more than they had scored actually it was as many as they'd scored in the entire series before that, then maybe Rocker would have gone out there for an 8th inning, because he was just absolutely dealing. This was Rocker at his absolute apex. This is the best version of Kamar Rocker we have ever seen. This was, close to that 19 strikeout super regional game against Duke back in college. I mean, the slider was just absolutely untouchable, and he really has a better feel for it now. I mean, this was just absolutely obliterating what has been to this point a really good Angels lineup. Now, they haven't looked like it in this series, but for the most part, this has been a really deep and really talented lineup. I mean, Kyron Paris has been the breakout player of the season in Major League Baseball, and the Rangers have just completely shut him down. Mike Trout is still very, very good at baseball. He had a really nice defensive play to throw out Kyle Higashioka at home plate, also to rob Dustin Harris of what probably could have and should have been extra bases had there been a lesser fielder out there in right field for the Angels, but he couldn't do basically anything offensively. Neither could Logan O'Hoppe or anybody in this lineup, really, outside of Luis Rengifo, who had a nice 2 RBI single. But this night was all about Kamar Rocker, throwing 45% sliders, 45 sliders, not 45%, 45 of his 78 pitches, because he made it through 7 innings, averaging about 11 pitches per inning. Even with a big inning where he allowed a couple of runs and his defense didn't do him any favors in particular, he still was very, very economical. And not only just economical, he's not just getting a bunch of weak first pitch ground outs, which, he got him more than his fair share of those, but he's also getting strikeouts too. I mean, 8 strikeouts in this one. This is the thing about Kamar Rocker, is when he's on, when that slider is on, this is why I say it's one of the best pitchers in baseball, because they could see it 45 times. The team could see it 45 times in a game and just really never truly square it up. I mean, you could see it as many times as you want, and it's just so different than any other kind of slider that anybody else is throwing. And he's so tall, he gets down the mound so much, it's just right on you. There's just nothing that hitters can do with it. He didn't throw a single curveball in this one. And in his last outing, he didn't really have a feel for his slider, and you can see the difference it makes. That is his best pitch. The curveball, I really like it. I think he maybe, if he had been given the reins to go through the order a fourth time, I wouldn't have been surprised if he busted out at least a curveball. He only threw one changeup. It was literally just sliders and fastballs. 45 sliders, 16 four-seam fastballs, 16 sinkers, and one changeup, a first pitch stolen strike, a great pitch, because it was not expected because he had not thrown it all day long. But the slider, 12 swings and misses on 25 swings, nearly half the time they were swinging and missing at it. He also got 9 called strikes. Basically, it was a called strike or a swing and a miss, almost half of those 45 sliders that he was throwing it. It was outside the zone, about 40% of the time, and they were chasing it about half the time that he was throwing it, and they just could not make contact out of the zone. An 11% out of zone contact rate, because there's nothing you can do, because usually when it's out of the zone, it is in the dirt, and by the time that those Angels hitters are seeing it and deciding to swing, it's too late. They have already failed. They have already made the wrong decision. But this guy being your number 5 starter when this rotation is healthy, well, actually, when this rotation is healthy, maybe this is your 7th starter. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of depth the Rangers have been able to pull out of nowhere almost at this. Well, not quite nowhere. It just pull out of unexpected, not quite ready places. Because, I mean, heading into this season, but before the injury to John Gray, before the injury to Cody Bradford, the thought was that, okay, Rocker and Leiter will be, vying for one of those rotation spots, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that they'll get there. And I thought that both of them could use a little bit more refinement. And then Jack Leiter said, hey, what if I just improve my entire arsenal 1,000,000% and do the one thing that I've never done that would make me almost unstoppable in commanding my fastball? And also, by the way, I'm throwing it 2 miles an hour harder. Also, by the way, I added a sinker. Also, by the way, I added a kick change. And my slider is looking as nasty as it's ever looked. Okay, well, just do that and you'll be one of the top pitchers in all of baseball. And unfortunately for Jack Leiter, he has also been dealing with an injury. I'll talk more about when he's coming back in the third segment. But Rocker, I thought, okay, he could use just a little bit more refinement. And then early on this spring training, he looked awful. Then he adds this curveball, and I thought, okay, you add the curveball, you start throwing the sinker a little bit more than the four-seamer, which it just does not have great metrics behind it. It's hard, but it doesn't have, the necessarily elite metrics behind it. You had 2 different versions of that breaking ball, and it's gonna give hitters a lot of problems. But heck, when the slider's this good, who needs a curveball? Who needs a fastball? Who needs anything else when you've got a slider this good? This is Kumar Rocker at his best, and not only was he at his best, he got himself into some tough situations and bounced back. I mean, the thing that I love about one of the many things that I love about Rocker, the main thing I love about Rocker is that he throws a slider that's just a disgustingly unhittable pitch that no one knows what to do with, and I don't think anyone will ever figure out what to do with that pitch because it's just so darn good. But one of the other things that I love about Rocker is his mental makeup. I mean, this guy just does not get rattled. I mean, he has dealt with a lot in his career, been, gone through the entire ringer of prospect cycle of like super hype, then, prospect fatigue, then Tommy John surgery, then coming back and reestablishing himself and not letting the rehype get to him at all. He is just so strong mentally, and to have a start to this game, a leadoff double, and give up a run in the first inning, and the offense thankfully just immediately spots him back up with tying it back up in the bottom of the first inning, then giving him a couple of runs to work with in the second. But then when he gets into trouble in that 5th inning, he could have gotten out of that inning a lot sooner if not for a great base running play by Tim Anderson and a not great defensive decision by Josh Young. Tim Anderson getting basically halfway to second base on what looked like a routine ground out by Taylor Ward. And unfortunately, Josh Young decided to throw it to second base, and Tim Anderson was safe. And that led to a bases loaded 2 RBI single by Luis Rengifo immediately afterwards, and he could have gotten out of the inning and could have made it a very, very economical inning, but unfortunately that was not the case. Also in that play, Tim Anderson reached on a single it wasn't an out, but it was still such an awesome play by Corey Seager on a ball hit to Josh Young. Young barely almost gets to it and then tips it a little bit. Corey Seager gets to that ball, somehow makes a throw on line, and just barely misses getting Tim Anderson out. I know it wasn't an out, but what an incredible play by Corey Seager, who has just been on a tear defensively this year. But he gets into that situation, even on Luis Rengifo in that at bat that he gave up a couple of runs in. He got ahead 0-2. He almost got out of it. It was just a slider that was up a little bit out of the zone away. Good bit of hitting by Luis Rengifo to hit it to the opposite field. But it was still, even right after that, he says, okay, I'm going to buckle down. I've got Mike Trout now with runners on first and second, and this game is getting close. Let me just strike out Mike freaking Trout, who has already seen me once, if not twice before. Yeah, I think it's twice before at that point. Just the stones on this kid, the mental makeup on this kid after that incredibly difficult first start of the season, bouncing back against the Rays, and then another really, really difficult start in Seattle where he just didn't have his feel for his best pitch. He bounces back and has his best start as a professional. Hasn't thrown 7 innings since college against East Carolina. This Angels lineup is a lot better than that East Carolina lineup, but this version of Kumar Rocker is even better than that version of Kumar Rocker. And I was having some thoughts about maybe when Jack Leiter comes up, maybe Rocker needs to go back down to the minor leagues to just work on refining himself. But he says that slider takes a little bit into the season to get a feel for it, and if he's got a feel for it right now, it doesn't matter what else he's throwing because he is going to be a mainstay of this rotation. He is not going anywhere. But it wasn't just Rocker who was rocking in this game. The Rangers' bats came alive, not just Corey Seager, but the rest of this lineup stepping up in a big way. I'll talk about why this breakout is going to keep on getting better, and I'll tell you why right after this. This show is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need an extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I'll be back on Monday to talk about this weekend series against the Dodgers. But in the meantime, Jeff Biggs will have you covered with the Locked On Rangers postcast. So go check those out after every single game. He does a great job there, keeping y'all up to speed right after those games. But the Rangers offense having themselves a pretty darn good game, and it keeps looking like it's going to get better. I mean, it has to get better at some point soon for Jock Peterson. I don't love keeping him in the 3-hole. It's not going to happen for much longer, especially with Corey Seager being so hot. And any single spot where Corey Seager comes up with leverage, at this point, it makes all the sense in the world to intentionally walk Corey Seager because he is just red hot. And Jock Peterson had a couple of almost hits, a couple of balls that he hit incredibly hard that should have been hits, but just weren't quite. His over streak is reached, I believe, 30 at this point. One of the worst stretches of his career, but this guy is just too talented. He is too good to suck for this much longer. It's part of the game, but keeping him up at the highest part of the Rangers order as protection for the likes of Corey Seager when Wyatt Langford comes back, he's absolutely going to slot right back into that 3-hole, and I would move Peterson down. He's having some struggles, and I think he's eventually going to figure it out, but there's too many other guys that are performing well that you want more in those leverage spots right now than Jock Peterson. Whenever he figures it out and starts hitting like Jock Peterson of old, this has been one of the more consistent hitters in Major League Baseball for the last dozen years or so. That's why this is so surprising, because Peterson has not had prolonged stretches where he's been just awful like this. There was 1 year after his first All-Star appearance that he's started to have this prolonged streak for about a month or so, but that's about where we are. We're almost a month into the season. We're more than 10% of the way into the season. It's more than 50 plate appearances that he has been just really, really going through it. And I just don't think that batting him third is the optimal way for this lineup to, get runs and get runs in bunches. But the rest of this lineup, they are heating up at a, very, very rapid pace, and they're due for a lot more big hits, a lot more runs. I mean, the Rangers still have a season high scoring of 6 runs. I think that that's going to change. Hopefully, in this game against Roki Sasaki, Sasaki, he's got a 3.3 something ERA, but he has been walking the entire world. If the Rangers can just be patient, surely they can get him out of the game before he's even gone through 4 innings and really start to get into this Dodgers bullpen and hopefully grab a series win this weekend. But you look at so many different guys, you go onto their Baseball Savant page on this Ranger squad, the likes of Corey Seager, of Jake Berger, of Marcus Semien, of Jock Peterson as well, of Adolis Garcia, and most of this lineup, their actual slugging percentage is about 100 points below their expected slugging percentage. They have been hitting the ball incredibly hard. And Adolis Garcia is definitely one of those guys who is due for some positive regression. I know he's only hitting 226 on the season, only a 762 OPS, and I saw somebody in the comments yesterday saying, "Oh, well, Adolis Garcia wants to hit. His goal is to hit 50 home runs this season. Well, he should make his plate discipline a more of a priority." And yeah, his chase rate is higher than average this year. His whiff rate is kind of high, but his strikeout rate is in the top quarter of baseball in terms of the good rate, in the good way. He is not striking out that much. He is taking his swings and misses and his chases early on pitches that he thinks he can do damage on. And you look at his average exit velocity, he's almost averaging a hard hit. His barrel rate is in the top 5% of baseball. His hard hit rate also in the top 10% of baseball. Average exit velo, expected slugging, expected WOBA, all of those are the top 13% of baseball. He has been absolutely obliterating baseballs, and he's only got 3 home runs to show for it so far this season. He's also been an absolute menace on the base paths. He looks better in the field. He's had a couple of misplays where you think, okay, all right, Adolis, that's not ideal, but he has just been such a spark plug for this Rangers squad that, the Rangers had a couple of home runs in this one, and unfortunately, it feels like 80% of their home runs have just been of the solo variety, and they just haven't quite been able to get the big hits. But the big hit in this one was delivered by the 9-hole hitter. Sometimes that's how it gets done. Leody Taveras, with the bases loaded and no outs, delivering a 2 RBI double. Could have maybe been 3 if not for some base running blunders in this one. The Rangers have had a couple of base running blunders the last couple of days. In this one, Kyle Higashioka, for some reason, going home on that double in the gap. I was a little surprised that Leody didn't try and go for third once he saw Kyle Higashioka rounding third base. I think he absolutely could have gotten there, and then maybe that fly out by Marcus Semien, the at-bat later, could have been a sac fly, and the Rangers could have added on a little bit more that way. But Higashioka going from first to home on that double when he didn't get a good start even. He's not a quick runner. He's not a fast, fleet of foot guy by any means, but if you go back and look at the replay, you see that Kyle Higashioka froze immediately when that ball was hit. I don't know why. It was pretty much a ground ball. It was something he should have been breaking on contact when it's on the ground like that. And then I didn't see whether Tony Beasley was giving him the full windmill or not. Tony Beasley is quite aggressive with that full windmill. This might have been one of those situations where it would have been better to just, keep him at third base. I'm not sure if Kyle Higashioka would have scored from third on that fly out by Marcus Semien, the at-bat later, or maybe the entire, at-bat would have looked a little bit different because the Rangers, they really saw Jack Kohanowitz, It's just, I've heard 18 different pronunciations, and whenever I hear the actual pronunciation of Kohanowitz, I think of Lilo and Stitch and Ohana. Ohana means family. Kohanowitz means family, which means no one gets left behind or forgotten. But the Bats did not forget how to hit Jack Kohanowitz in this one, dropping 8 hits on him, 4 runs, all of which were earned. They only worked 1 walk, and they only struck out just once against him, but seeing just 5 strikeouts for the Rangers Bats in this one, 3 of them came from Ryan Zefferjon, who had a very relievery inning, gives up a leadoff homer in the first pitch to Corey Seager, who just absolutely obliterated that baseball. He is just on fire right now. And his actual slugging percentage right now, he's one of those ones who has a long way to catch up with his expected stats, because his OPS right now is at 884, but that's a pretty solid season. He's got 4 home runs on the season. He's hitting over 300. His on base is over 360. It's nearly 370. He's slugging 516. And his expected slugging is 622. So he's due for a couple more extra base hits. And a couple of those maybe will be going over the fence in the meantime, because he just could not be stopped by any Angels pitcher in this one. Just an absolutely dominant outing from Corey Seager, and the rest of these bats stepping up too. I mean, Kyle Higashioka reaching base a couple of times, Jake Berger reaching on a single and a hit by pitch, and had one of the hardest hit balls of the night. Actually, I believe it might have been the actual hardest hit ball of the night. Yes, an 111 mile an hour liner right at the shortstop. Unfortunately, the second hardest hit ball by a Ranger, Leody Taveras' 109.8 mile an hour double. Third hardest hit ball by a Ranger was, of course, that Corey Seager absolute blast. But 15 swing and misses from Rocker in this one, just looking at these baseball savant leaderboards. The rest of this offense just stepping up in such a big way, and honestly, so glad that Jake Berger didn't have to go on the IL for that hit by pitch. It looked like it got him right in the wrist, and you saw that bracelet that he's wearing with the beads just absolutely explode. He just doubled over in pain, and it was one of those moments where you thought, oh boy, not again, because Josh Smith hadn't played in a minute, and you don't want to add anybody else to this laundry list of the Rangers' injuries that they are dealing with right now. Coming up, we're going to give you an update about when these guys are coming back, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Evan Carter for the first time in a while, because there's maybe something that y'all need to know right after this. This show is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from for the site that's made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking to get an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone lines, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Now, I was a little bit worried there when Jake Berger got hit in the wrist, not only because it looked like his wrist exploded. Thankfully, it was just a bracelet that exploded, but he has been swinging the bat really, really well, impacting the baseball really, really well, and this offense needs all the help it can get, and in a little bit, it will be getting some more help. But Josh Smith missing his third straight game. He has been out since Sunday. He's been dealing with a little bit of a thumb issue. Bochy said that he just needed an extra day. I would anticipate that we probably see him, I would think tonight, in this lineup against the Dodgers. Maybe give Jock Peterson a night off, because Yoshinobu Yamamoto is not exactly the easiest pitcher for you to break an 0 for 30 slump against. Maybe just give him a day. I don't know, but Josh Smith is not the only Ranger bat that has been dealing with injury issues. Wyatt Langford has been on the IL for 9 days at this point. I think we're on day 9 today, Friday, because tomorrow, Saturday, against the Dodgers, Wyatt Langford is eligible to return from the IL. I did not think that he was going to be making any rehab starts. That's what Bochy had said earlier this week. But then on Thursday afternoon, Frisco Rough Riders emailed all of their media people and said, hey, Wyatt Langford's here. They tweeted out, hey, Wyatt Langford is coming back to Frisco. Y'all come get your tickets. Come watch Wyatt Langford. And everyone else that had heard that Wyatt Langford wasn't going on a rehab stint, you thought, okay, interesting. So he DH'd last night. And of course, in his first plate appearance of the night, Wyatt Langford went yard because he is too good for Double A. I think he needs one more game there before he's ready to just jump straight up past Triple A and up to the big leagues, because White Langford is pretty darn good. He also walked later on. He struck out once. He lined out once. He scored twice. But throwing a Double A lefty against White Langford, I don't care what Double A lefty is going up against White Langford. It looks like he's back. It looks like he is just about ready. Tonight, Friday night, if you are going out to Frisco, you will be seeing White Langford playing the field. I'm assuming that will be him playing in left field. But Bruce Bochy said he's probably almost certainly coming back whenever he is eligible to be activated off the IL. That will be on Saturday. Who is eligible today to come off the IL? Well, it's Jack Leiter, but he is not coming off the IL today. He threw a 50-plus pitch bullpen. I believe it was 53 pitches earlier this week. I think that was actually on Thursday. Yes, Thursday. So the Rangers will be seeing exactly how he feels in the wake of that and then deciding when they are going to activate their young talented right-handed pitcher from the injured list after dealing with that blister. I mean, it was just really unfortunate timing for Jack Leiter to have the first time he's been injured as a professional. I mean, he is, for all of his struggles in the minor leagues, and he had, I'd say, more than his fair share of struggles in the minor leagues, or maybe his fair share. I mean, who am I to say what's fair in terms of an amount of struggles to have for somebody? But Jack Leiter never had any injury concerns. That was why I think the Rangers were leaning more towards Jack Leiter when they drafted him in that draft. And they picked up Rocker later, so it doesn't really end up mattering. But Rocker had more injury concerns. There'd been more of a laundry list of injuries with Rocker, although the ceiling on Rocker seemed higher, but Leiter seemed like a little bit safer, a little bit more polished of a pick. I mean, he's never had Tommy John surgery. I'm not even going to knock on wood, because the last time I knocked on wood, John Gray ended up being out for 2 months, and Cody Bradford ended up being out for at least 2 months. So I don't think that my wood knocking has any kind of preventative measure. But Leiter had been incredibly healthy for the entirety of his minor league career and his major league career to this point. Before that blister put him on the IL, they put a protective glue on it. The first bullpen that he threw, it felt a little funny, but he said it was fine just having that little protective glue there to make sure that the blister is healing up nicely. But the Rangers don't have to rush him because the rest of this rotation has been so darn good. Obviously, even with the great start from Patrick Corbin, and I was a little bit disrespectful to what Patrick Corbin could do as a starting pitcher, but you'd still rather have this version of Jack Leiter than Patrick Corbin. You'd still rather have the version of Kumar Rocker that you had last night than even the best version that you're going to get from 35-year-old Patrick Corbin. No offense to him, but those guys are going to be on a lot more Rangers teams in the future than I think Patrick Corbin will. I feel pretty darn confident in saying that about the two Vandy boys in Rocker and Leiter, and I'm pretty darn sure their ceilings are higher in the next 3 to 5 years than Corbin is going to look by the time he's 38. Again, no offense, great guy to plug in if you need a spot starter too. Really good guy, it seems like, with what he did last night. Hopefully he can do that again. I would not try and get a spot start out of him against the Dodgers lineup that has been frankly unimaginably good. It might be a little bit tricky if he goes against Oakland, or I guess Sacramento's lineup in their minor league ballpark that is very, very hitter friendly. That might be a tough assignment for Patrick Corbin. Heck, the A's are a tough assignment for anybody right now. But bottom line, this Rangers rotation can survive an extra, couple of days without Jack Leiter, just to make sure that they get him fully back and fully back to the version of himself that he was, literally immediately before he suffered this blister injury. Just really darn bad timing for him. But speaking of darn bad timing, I got to talk about Evan Carter. I haven't really talked much about him so far this season, and there have been some people asking questions. I haven't said anything because there hasn't been, that much of an update. I mean, Evan Carter went down before the start of the season because he had a horrible spring training, and he's also got a degenerative back condition that the Rangers are trying to help go into remission. It wasn't just that his mentals were leading to these struggles. It was the physical. He wasn't able to get that torque and swing and impact the baseball as hard as we've seen Evan Carter at his best. And that's also the reason why he's not playing every single day. I mean, he played basically every day for the first 2 weeks of the season. He started the 28th, the 29th of March. He started the 1st through the 2nd, the 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th. But it's been basically a couple of days off in between starts the last couple outings because it's a fine line between getting Evan Carter reps and getting him rest. It is just a difficult position to put himself in. And for all those saying, "Oh, Evan Carter, he had 3 bad games at AAA. I think that this guy sucks now." That's not the case. It is completely overblown. People after literally 5 starts in AAA were saying, "Oh boy, I don't know if Evan Carter's ever going to be good again." What? Do you have the brain, the memory of a goldfish? Come on. This guy was a top 100 prospect in baseball for a reason. There was a much larger sample size of Evan Carter being incredibly good at baseball than him being bad. And yes, back issues are very, very scary. And I'm not even going to say what his actual condition is. If you want to look up, degenerative, lower back condition, you can go look that up on your own. Evan Carter is not wanting that publicized, so I'm not going to speak about his medicals if he doesn't want that. Just respecting his privacy. It's pretty easy to go see that though. Eventually, it can go into remission, and eventually, Evan Carter might be coming up at some point this season. But if he's only playing every 3rd game or every other game or every 4th game or so, I don't think that he's going to be coming up, even if he is having success, which he has been doing for the last 4 games. You look at the totality of the season, yeah, he's hitting sub 200, but the OBP is a point shy of 350. I mean, he's still Evan Carter. He's still seeing the strike zone incredibly well. Yeah, he's having some difficulty impacting the baseball in a big, big way, but he's played 10 games. He has a couple extra base hits. He has 4 stolen bases without being caught, 9 walks to 8 strikeouts. I mean, that's pretty much Evan Carter. And you look at the last 7 games, or the last 7 days, granted he's only played 2 games, but he's hitting 375 with a 944 OPS. He's better than AAA pitchers right now, especially right-handers. But he still has yet to get a hit against a left-handed pitcher in the minors so far this season. Maybe just some extra reps will help him just get more reps against lefties. He just hasn't had that many. But I'm about as worried about Evan Carter as I was before this season. This back thing is no joke, but the potential's still there. And even if he has a bad, month or 2 months or so, just getting him healthy and right is much more important for the long-term future of this Texas Rangers and the long-term future of Evan Carter as a person, not just a baseball player, than the immediacy of people who don't like Leo Taveras wanting to see him get benched for Evan Carter. But that's going to do it for today's show. That's what's going on with Evan Carter and the rest of this Rangers squad. A great homestand so far with a sweep after an incredibly frustrating weekend, and hopefully this weekend will look a whole lot more fun than last weekend of Texas Rangers baseball. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.